What's up, everybody? It's your favorite Formula One racer's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at Transform Mission Revolt, which is their drag strip. And I like this guy a lot. We'll talk about why. Not perfect, but it's pretty good. The wheels, we'll talk about the alt mode first, obviously. So it doesn't have tread on it, as it should not, which is nice. They feel like a hard rubber, but I'm not the, you know, my fingers are so calloused. As we talk about, I can barely tell any of those things, but it feels like rubber to me. But it could be, yeah, I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna go with it. Rolls like a champ. Has the detailings on the side and the racing number painted on there as well. You know, I love little stuff like that. Look at those little red painted stripes. Little stuff like that, it goes a long way. A couple details painted and accented on the back of the unit. Just looks good. Clean underneath. This is how you do it, in my opinion. It's painted, it rolls, it looks good. And now, you know, of course, you know I'm a finish guy, but I can accept, when it has this amount of paint on it, I can accept this. I'm happy with that. All right. Enough gushing. It has this plugs in underneath. This is flaw number one. It doesn't hold very well. Well, now I say that and it holds fairly well. But I found that it constantly keeps popping out. It's that little piece right there and it clips onto there. Not the biggest deal in the world, but has to be mentioned because it's a review and that's what reviewing means. This folds down. And I don't know why they felt the need to do this at all, this other bit. I guess just for breakup in color maybe. But I'm the wrong way. At any rate, the silver is painted, and so is the gunmetal tip of it, so to speak. And it's fair. It's fine. It's no big deal. It'll do its job as a gun. But let's get back to this, where the beauty really lies. And I am going to bring out our old friend Tiger Tracks for a comparison, and I think that looks pretty good. I don't know in real life which one's supposed to be bigger and all that. I'm not a car guy. I just think that, you know, you see these, like, you know, if you saw these in a scene or something or in a display, I think it would scale well with one another. Now let's get it transformed. According to the instructions, we fold these pieces in first, and then this piece rocks up on this double hinge here and comes over top. And then you can take these pieces up and up on the sides, which will allow you to get access to these pieces, which have pegs that plug into those ports. Voila, like it was meant to be. And then you can unpeg these hands, and then we're just going to try to work the arms out a little bit, and you can adjust them on that joint to kind of get yourself a little bit more space. A few moving pieces go on with this front end. You can separate it, and then you can rock this piece up and then this piece up, and it's on like a tight little double hinge, and it's just a matter of working its way around. And then you need to separate these pieces. Be very careful. This is very thin plastic here towards the end, and you just want to get this down and around. Move these pieces in to create space, and you want to keep these pieces back, but you want to bring this piece forward, and we got to work it around those two angles there, if you can see, so that this comes down and the head comes up. And let me adjust the camera a bit. On the front, you got to put these down, and then you got to rock. Ah, mother. Yikes. Yes, 911 emergency? Yeah, I cut my finger open, and I'm pretty sure I need to go to the hospital. Could you send me an ambulance? On a big dangerous katana sword that was laying around. How do you know that's not what happened? It doesn't sound realistic? Well, okay. All right. It was on an action figure. Hello? Hello? I'm sorry for this, but it's just It's just hard to manipulate all those little pieces and make sure all these, there it is. I had the wrong piece I was trying to plug in. That was my issue. All right, so let's finish the back part of this. So you got to unplug this here, and then you see a sliding bar, and this comes up and around and plugs into that groove there. So same on that side. And then you're good. For the shoulder, you want to kind of move this piece up while you move this piece down, rotate, and bring the hand out. And then you can bring this down to cover down on the shoulder, which works really well in articulation for the action figure element. And there. And that's the upper body. Spin this around. You can split this, and then you can bring these tires out. They're on double hinges. Open this piece up here and this piece down, which should allow you to bring this whole section up. And then you got to plant that peg underneath that there. This comes around and plugs into this side. This comes up and plugs into there. And this tire comes up and plugs into there. This foot comes forward, and then you just spin the tire so that that locks into that. And that is another very, very impressive piece of engineering for a leg. They've continued to impress me in that regard. Let's do it again. So you got to be able to bring this up, and then this sits 90 degrees. You can pull the knee away. There. Plug this piece into the back there, and this piece around here. Bring the tire out. Be careful with this because they are smaller pieces. And then bring the tire piece around so that it plugs into here. And then rotate the tire until the two notches there line up with the corresponding holes, and bring, so to speak, and bring this piece up. And rotate the foot. And there you have the figure. Extremely well done. Let's talk about him. This is supposed to be IDW drag strip. It's a combined mode thing. I was just seeing what that looked like. And so it doesn't look great if you want it to look like G1 drag strip. But for IDW drag strip, it looks pretty much pretty close to the mark. The head sculpt is great. The blue, perfect color choices, the red chrome looks superb. Silver accents and the blue there all come through, make for great details. We have a hinge with a ball peg on it here, and then we have this piece, which is on a swivel, and then a hinge here. So you can get up here on the hinge, and then you can rotate the arm all the way up, and then you can adjust the shoulder pad as need be within reason. To get it all the way around, you get up to there. Plus the swivel. And the ball joint is toleranced well. Swivel for the bicep, single hinged elbow that gets you 90 degrees, wrist swivel, fingers on a base pin knuckle. Very tight though. So be careful. Be careful with that. I wouldn't open it. Oof. Yeah, very tight. Be very careful. They do open all the way, but you don't want to be the one to test its limits. And neither do I, to be quite honest. So be careful. Let's back out so we can focus. Same for the other side, and we have the silver that's painted on the arms. Waist swivel, as we saw, that works fine. We have these pieces which are on hinges. You can get them out of the way. They do have purple accents on them, by the way. You can get them out of the way to get the friction universals, which get you, if you, can you move this at all? And yeah, it's not the best feeling one, but you can get the full Monty and the full Van Damme if you work at it. Thigh swivel built into the universal, and then a single jointed knee that gets you 90 degrees. Nothing really for the ankles. The feet do all of it, but as a result, you get a tilt, back and forth and a rocker, and I can tell you that that lends itself to a lot of poses and dynamic poses as well. These pieces you will find cumbersome. I wonder if I keep looking to see if there's some way I can get them out of the way, but I don't. I can't come up with it. But very, very dynamic figure. Size comparison wise, there he is with his teammates. Looking great. Final thoughts wise, unfortunately there are a few negatives that we have to talk about, but they are very few. Those two bits on the back of the hips, those gray bits that come in play for combiner mode, they are obnoxious to deal with at times when you're trying to pose them in the more dynamic poses. Not impossible to work around or anything like that, just a bit frustrating. The other thing is those two sharp pieces that I stab myself with, that also is a bit of an issue. And outside of that, I really don't have any complaints. The one thing I missed in my review that I wanted to discuss is his head, I think, is actually on a hinge swivel kind of turned. Well, it's on a hinge swivel, I think. I think it's a hinge up inside the head. It could be a ball peg. I'm not entirely sure. Either way, it works fine. You get the head up to an extreme range, and then down as well. So it works. The only other thing that people are going to obviously, complain about is that it's not G1. And, I hear you, but it's not supposed to be G1. So we kind of knew what it looked like before we decided to purchase it or think about purchasing it. And if it being not G1 is a deal breaker for you, then yeah, it's not going to ever scratch that itch for you. It does look IDW. I'm a fan of IDW, but I'm also a fan of the Stunticons in general. So I'm happy to have them overall. Even though I have issues with the other two, I'm happy to have them. And this one is easily the best one they've put out. Before we get on to the positives, I just wanted to take a close look at this face sculpt while I give a shout out to Manny P. You can find him in the Facebook groups, Cybertron Cafe, for example, and I bought this from him. I do business with him fairly often, at least whenever I can, and he takes care of me, and he does a good job and ships it out fast and all that sort of thing. He also stands by my opinions. If I'm hard on a figure, he usually understands exactly where I'm coming from and totally gets it. So he's a guy I think very highly of. He has great prices, and you can find him on Facebook. Which brings us to our positives. For a figure like this, it has paint in all the right spots in order to make it visually interesting to look at. I don't have any complaints to the paint in the sense of how it was done. Of course I like finish, but there are finishes here like the silver in the legs, but more importantly, there's enough accents throughout the figure where it's fine. You know what I mean? Like it looks good. So there's like enough there to kind of forgive a lack of finish, and I don't really expect finish on a figure like this anyway. So yeah, I think that works really well. The articulation works pretty much across the board. Like I said, the hips get a little ate up, but other than that, everything works well. Has a strong presence, cleans up fairly well. We didn't really take a look at that, but it does have this bit hanging off of his head, but that's true, I believe, to the design of the character for IDW, so I think that works. The materials feel good. I love the sculpt. I think this is really good. Like my complaints are really just those things on the back of the hips. Everything else about this really works well. So yeah, I strongly recommend this. If you're an IDW fan, if you're a Combiner fan, if you're a Decepticon team fan, if you're a Stunticon fan, Dragstrip fan, or just a cool Transformer fan, definitely recommend this. I also want to say that their engineering continues to impress me, and this one is the smoothest of the set. The other ones kind of lose you in some of the bits that goes on in the upper body, but the legs are all impressive. This one somehow ties it all together. The arms are fun and interesting. The upper body is fun and interesting. The legs are fun and interesting. Extremely well done figure. Highly recommend. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.